I want to talk to you today about staying in shape when you're traveling to Japan. So, one thing that makes it a little bit difficult is that, as we're all aware, Japanese food is quite different from other countries, especially if you're like me and you're coming from America, you know? So it's a bit of a culture shock. That might be one of the biggest culture shocks aside from language is food. So I will talk about some things that I recommend doing and how to keep healthy. So first off, I'll go ahead and list my qualifications and why I'm able to talk on this matter. So I'm 28 years old. I'm currently the lead personal trainer Kumamoto, Japan, and I also am a certified personal trainer. I played rugby for 2 years in university, and I also competed in natural bodybuilding. I'll be honest though, I only competed in bodybuilding once, and honestly, the only reason for that was because it wasn't for me. I enjoyed the experience, and I would never take it back. I don't regret it at all, but it was just the competing itself was just not for me. Yeah, I liked the prep and everything building up to it, and it was nice to see, you know, your hard work culminate. But yeah, it wasn't for me. Anyway, so yes, so with all that said, I know a bit about what you need to eat and how to stay in shape. But I'm not going to be giving advanced tips. These are going to be generalized tips. So if you're a bodybuilder coming here on a cut and you're trying to, you know, do whatever, stay super lean, stay super dry while traveling to Japan, maybe I can do a separate video, but this is going to be just for general fitness. So anyway, so let's go ahead and talk about everyone's favorite little thing when visiting Japan, convenience stores. So there are a few things that I recommend picking up. For example, if you're somebody who's trying super hard to stay lean, or you know, you just really want to avoid all calories, which may be a bad idea if you're coming to Japan, I recommend you go to a convenience store. You can get a salad chicken. Alright, so you can you can buy these at any convenience store, 7-Eleven, Lawson's, Daily Yamazaki, Family Mart, wherever. What they are, and I know this sounds gross, but bear with me, they're not so bad. They're these little pre-cooked chicken breasts that come in plastic bags, and you can get them seasoned in many different flavors, and they're really cheap. They're about 200 yen, so that 200 yen is, I don't know, like $1.60, $1.70 in US dollars. But you can choose, you know, you can get like a no seasoning, medium seasoning, high. The high seasoning is, you know, some kind of like high fat dressing. It's like Thousand Island or something like that. The medium is gonna be like just Italian herbs and seasoning, and the nothing is just plain. It's just boiled, cooked chicken breast with nothing on it. You know, you're trying to get your protein, but you don't care so much calories. You go for the heavy one. They're quite delicious. So they're obviously the best tasting ones. If you're, you know, somewhere in the middle, you're not trying to lean out too much, but you're not trying to gain too much either, go for that middle seasoning. If you're, you know, super hard cutting, contest prepping, go for that no seasoning. After you pick up your salad chicken, I recommend looking at the onigiri. Onigiri is just a rice ball. They're little triangle-shaped rice balls that you'll find also at any convenience store, and they're packaged the same way that the chicken breasts are, to where you can get them with a medium seasoning, a low seasoning, medium seasoning, or a high seasoning. And you can choose based on what your caloric needs are. So, you know, but you can get the ones with fish in them too. You know, you can get the salmon roe or anything with bonito flakes and plum. really nice flavor, but still really, really low calories. Of course, super hard cutting. You can get just plain white rice bowl. I mean, it's not the most delicious thing in the world, but it's not bad either. But you know, you probably just want to stay away from the tuna mayo, which is my personal favorite. But that's going to be your highest calorie one if you're trying to lose or cut or anything. Next, if you're looking for your veggies, you're going to want to hunt around for these little plastic tubs of cabbage salad. So these cabbage salad, again, you know, low, medium, high. You can choose dressing, no dressing, whatever. But they're always pretty delicious, and you can usually find a low-calorie seasoning or dressing. So I recommend that for your veggies. So together we have the salad chicken, the onigiri, and the cabbage salad. So these are all quite delicious and pretty cheap too. So you can get all of these together for probably under 500 yen. So I'd probably say like 400, 450 yen. So you're looking at like $3.50, $4 for an entire like high protein healthy meal that you can get virtually anywhere in Japan. I live in the middle of nowhere in Kumamoto. There's no trains, no buses, no taxis, nothing. However, there are still convenience stores here. So if you're coming to Japan, you'll have access to a convenience store. So the general consensus is that a lot of foods and things are decently healthy in Japan, and that is true for the most part. Yeah, you do have a good chance of finding healthy food quite easily, but the drinks are another topic. So if you're unsure of how to look for sugar, protein, carbs, we'll talk about that, and I'll show you the kanji for each one. So this is the kanji for fat. This is the kanji for carbohydrates. This is the kanji for sugar. And this is the kanji / hiragana / katakana, it's kind of different for everyone, for protein. So this is what you'll probably be looking for the most. And if you're looking for micronutrients, the labels tend to have them all written in English anyway. And what I mean by that is it doesn't say this in English. It'll say kanji explaining it, or Japanese explaining it, but you'll see, you know, the vitamin B6, 1000% or something like that. It'll say that in English. And I'm not saying all drinks are deceptively unhealthy in Japan. Of course, that's not true. That would be a wildly assumptive blanket statement. But all I'm saying is food, you don't have to worry too much about looking for, you know, health labels and stuff like that. But drinks, I would be a little bit careful with. I would just at least glance on the back and check the sugars and see, or just look at the numbers in general. And if you see any numbers that are above like 20 or 30, then maybe you ought to choose a different drink. All right, now let's talk about restaurants. So generally speaking, restaurants are a pretty safe bet in Japan. So if you're coming from America, the first time you go to a restaurant in Japan, you're gonna think you've made it to paradise. It's ridiculous. So in America, restaurants, you know, it's really, really hard, especially in bodybuilding or fitness, to eat at a restaurant and eat clean. Because even when you think you're eating clean in a restaurant, you're not. Like, you can order a plain chicken breast and a salad at a restaurant, and somehow they'll manage to squeeze like 78 grams of fat into this chicken and the salad, and you just have no idea how that's even possible. But yeah, that's not a thing that you have to worry about too much in Japan. Also, restaurants I can't really speak for other countries, but restaurants in America are quite expensive. You never realize how expensive they are until you come somewhere where they're not so expensive. So one of the things that I noticed is that Japanese restaurants are cheaper. One of the reasons, of course, is because you do not tip people in Japan. Do not tip people in Japan. There's usually much higher quality food, and Almost every restaurant I have ever eaten at in Japan, no matter whether it's a chain restaurant or if it's a mom and pop store, the food is always cooked fresh. Now, I haven't been to every prefecture in Japan or every restaurant in Japan, obviously, but I'm talking, I've been to nearly every prefecture in Kyushu. I've been to Kyoto, Osaka, and now Kumamoto, of course. But I've never had a bad experience at a restaurant. The food has always been insanely good and always nice priced. I will say that the food is generally healthier, right? When you go to a restaurant, if you're here and you're watching this video trying to stay in shape while you're in Japan, you probably know to stay away from fried foods, right? Fried foods are unhealthy in every country, and that's just how it is. So stay away from fried foods. So you want to stay away from the katsu restaurants and anything, where they just deep fry everything. Stay away from tempura and things like that. But for the most part, especially if you're going to any kind of like traditional Japanese style restaurant, it's really easy to find a meal where you just get miso soup, rice, and a plain fish. Well, I say a plain fish, but it's cooked and it's delicious, right? If I go to a restaurant here and I order a salmon meal, we'll say a salmon meal, right? And it comes with a fairly decent size, I'd say about fist size portion of salmon. So, and this is real, it's almost always real fresh, absolutely delicious. So it'll come with salmon, it'll come with miso soup, it'll come with rice, it'll come with salad, and then it'll come with some Japanese style pickles, which are absolutely delicious. And then, usually water or a tea, and then sometimes, other random foods. And all of those will cost you together, depending on where you go. I mean, we're talking anywhere between 600 yen to 800 yen. That whole meal that I just mentioned, with all the protein, all the healthiness and everything with it, it's gonna cost you about $4.50 up to about $8, at the most $10, and that's total. But the $10 meals, those are only gonna be in your really, really touristy areas or really high quality restaurants. So, because Japanese restaurants are generally really cheap, so if you go and you spend 1,000 yen on a meal, it's gonna be a really nice quality meal. But at the same time, if you spend 400 yen, 500 yen on a meal, it's still gonna be really delicious. Another type of place I recommend are the, I know this is gonna sound crazy, recommending fast food chains for health, but I recommend places like Skiya and Yoshinoya. So those type of restaurants, the beef bowls, the sukiyaki bowl restaurants, pretty straightforward. I mean, your meals, it's a bowl of rice with some beef on top, or some kind of meat. Some of them have salmon, some of them have sashimi, some of them have yakiniku beef, or all kinds of different beef. But pretty straightforward. It's beef on rice, and you want some extra protein and you want to make it a little bit more green. My personal favorite meal at both Skiya or Yoshinoya is the just plain beef bowl with negi, green onions, and an egg, a raw egg on top. So good. So you get your beef and you get the extra 6 grams of protein from your egg. Also, here's the absolute best part about this. So far we've mentioned every meal is insanely cheap, right? This one is just as cheap, and it's so fast. They even have a drive-through. So when you go to this restaurant, you order these beef bowls, they're anywhere from 300 yen to 700 yen. For example, if you just get a plain beef bowl, normal size, not small, just normal size, it's 320 yen. So it's like $2.90 total. It's so cheap to eat at a restaurant, and it's really delicious and high quality. but you're trying to gain, you're trying to keep some protein, keep your muscle up, you can order a meal where you can choose which. In these restaurants, you order from like an iPad type thing anyway, and they always have English options, so they're easy to choose from. But you can choose if you want extra meat but less rice, extra rice but less meat, or more rice and more meat. Of course, the more rice, more meat is more expensive. I tend to do the regular rice with extra meat, and then I add a whole side order of like kimchi or negi, which is green onions again, a raw egg or two, and it ends up costing me still only like 700 yen. So I mean that's $6.50, something like that. And so yeah, we've talked about food, we talked about drinks, we've talked about restaurants. So my next is going to be a little bit of a quick Japanese to help you out if you're looking for anything. So if you're going to any place, any restaurant, any store, and you're wanting to ask, do you have this, right? Do you have this? So anything, you'll say blank ga arimasu ka? Arimasu ka? Blank ga arimasu ka? If you were looking for cabbage salad, right? You could say, oh, sumimasen, excuse me. Sumimasen, kabutsu ga arimasu ka? Kabutsu ga arimasu ka? Kabutsu ga arimasu ka? And all that means is, excuse me, do you have cabbage? Or, of course, there's always the option, pull up a picture of something on your phone that you're looking for. If it's hard to, put into Google Translate or something, point at the picture and say, sumimasen, arimasu ka? Sumimasen, arimasu ka? It's just, excuse me, do you have this? Excuse me, where is this? So, those have been some tips for coming to Japan. We talked about food, drinks, restaurants, really basic Japanese. Of course, there are numerous tips that I can think of when coming to Japan, and we'll cover them in later videos. But for now, enjoy, and I hope you all learned something from this video. Jane! Welcome to Japan!